And now, ladies and gentlemen, hey now. Welcome to hour number 4 of the line. Talk 995, talk995.com, Andrew McLean, who.com. Thank you for being here. Appreciate ya. Everybody's so antsy, man. Is this what happens when John Bird leaves? Everybody gets antsy. Everybody's like on edge. Like, chill, man. I need to get back to talking about poop all the time. Y'all aren't quite as so tightly wound when I'm talking about poop. Anyway, let me stick with what I was talking about a moment ago because I actually didn't finish Donald Trump's tweet with the Supreme Court stuff. He said the tariff decision was an unnecessary and expensive slap in the face to the USA and a giant victory for its opponents. If they rule against our birthright citizenship, which they probably will, it will be even worse if that's possible. It will cost America massive amounts of money, but more importantly, it will cost America its dignity. And then he finishes it with this line: no, radical left Democrats don't need to pack the court. It's already packed. No truer words have ever been spoken. It's already packed. Because, they've just lost their way. They have. Normally, during Trump's term here, it would be fantastic if he could get to appoint another Supreme Court justice or two. But you always want it to be at the helm of a Democrat bowing out, right? Of, Sotomayor or whoever. You'd like to see one of them go. But at the end of the day, if somebody like Amy Coney Barrett decided to retire, I wouldn't even be mad. I'd say Trump deserves a do-over on that one because she sucks. She sucks. Yeah. Clarence Thomas is our only hope on the Supreme Court. He's the only one that's doing right by the American people and right by the Constitution on every decision. Or John Roberts, for that matter. I mean, when's it time for him to hang it up? Can we get rid of him and replace him and then have Clarence Thomas be the Chief Justice? Wouldn't that be good? That'd be good. Let me move over to Virginia because I don't want to end the show without talking about Virginia. As we discussed yesterday, they had a constitutional amendment where they deceived the voters on what it was they were voting for, which is basically redistricting to where Democrats have 10-1 district advantage in the state, which ultimately affects even people in Alabama because they end up sending, 10 representatives to the House, to the U.S. House, and it just becomes a whole big mess, right? It was a 5-6 split. And now with this, it would be a 10-1. Thank goodness a Virginia court struck down the Democrat gerrymander referendum as unconstitutional. So the judge has blocked the vote certification, issued an injunction. And what will happen now is this will have to stay in place. They won't be able to implement this pending an appeal, which likely it will be appealed. This is very important to Democrats. They'll basically have to sit on that until it makes its way to the Virginia Supreme Court, where they will have to make a decision. Now, what does the Virginia Supreme Court look like? I have no idea. I don't know how that turns out. I think if you just simply look at the Constitution, it's easy to say, no, this shouldn't be allowed. But we'll see. It can't be certified or take effect unless the Virginia Supreme Court overturns the decision on the appeal. So, at the very least, slow walk this thing until the midterms. You know what I'm saying? But it's got to go, man. And the tactics that were used by Democrats in the lead up to this, because it wasn't just the shady language on the ballot, it was the message that Democrats were pumping out to the people of Virginia in the lead up to the vote itself. Perfect example. Fairfax County teachers were turning their students into little Democrat activists by pushing this redistricting on them, giving them assignments, telling them to go home and convince their parents to vote yes on the amendment. That's right. And for, a lot of parents that probably already knew that this was bad news. But for parents that maybe they vote, but they didn't fully understand what this was, they hear from their kids, hey, you really need to vote yes. My teacher was showing us how it worked and blah, blah, blah. Then they get to the ballot box and they see this warm and fuzzy language and they're like, oh, okay, yeah, I can vote for that. I want elections to be fair. Everybody wants elections to be fair, right? This was from a piece in the New York Times. I'm sorry, the Washington Times. From, I don't know if this was a guest author or what. Oh, she served as a special assistant to Donald Trump at one time. She wrote the column, and she was talking about her own experience because her kids go to Fairfax County. She said, on Friday, I picked up my 14-year-old twin boys from school. And both jumped into the car and asked whether I was voting yes on Virginia's redistricting measure Tuesday. That's a no, I said flatly to the proposed map, which would create a 10-1 Democrat congressional delegation in the state Kamala Harris won by only 5 percentage points. However, my boys knew exactly how I feel about this shameless power play by the liberals in Richmond, so why did they ask? Turns out, in both of their civics classes that day, taught by two different teachers in Fairfax County Public Schools, they were urged to go home and persuade their parents to vote yes on the measure to make Virginia's maps as fair as they can be, quote unquote, to stop Donald Trump at all cost, quote unquote. This is what the teacher was teaching in the civics class. They used the same talking points being spewed by endless Democratic campaigns in the Commonwealth to make Virginia come under one-party Democrat rule. It's quite amazing. Quite amazing. They've got some cojones to be, but that's what Democrats do. They try to indoctrinate your kids, whether it's Democrat policies, whether it's the politics, or it's just LGBTQ crap. They cram down your kid's throat. Like, they're trying to build their army through your children. They push it down your kid's throat. And for so many parents out there, they're not paying attention. Maybe politics aren't their thing. Maybe they're more into Taylor Swift and whatever else, They're just kind of out doing their thing. They got a busy life. They're working. They're trying to keep up with housework and everything else. They don't have time to keep up with politics. So not only are they building up an army with our young people, but they're convincing the current voters, the parents, who don't pay attention, but maybe do vote because they feel like it's their American duty to do so, convincing them to vote a particular way for the immediate future. It's pretty disgusting. Protect your kids. That's what I say. Protect your children from what Barry would say are these demonic individuals. Because in a lot of cases, Barry's not lying to you. There's some demonic behavior that comes out of the Democrat Party. And by some, I mean a lot. They mean a lot. Protect your children. Make sure you know what they're doing. Make sure you know what they're being taught at schools. When they come to you and tell you their teacher's talking about politics, ask them what they're saying. Ask them what they're being taught in their civics classes, in their history classes. Keep your finger on the scale. And make sure your kids aren't being propagandized because it can happen so easily. And you never even know it happens until it's too late. Many of y'all see it with your grown kids. They graduate high school, they go to college, they come back, and next thing you know, they're a liberal. And you're thinking, what happened? I didn't raise my kid to be a liberal. But they went out there and did what? They got propagandized by their teachers, by their classmates. And next thing you know, their whole worldview is skewed, it's screwed up. And what happens in that case? They graduate from college, they get out in the real world, and their life is 10 times harder than it has to be because they get out there and they think the rest of the world cares about their feelings, but the rest of the world doesn't. 205 545 9950. Ernest Financial bringing you this part of the show. Speaking of the real world, those of you that have worked your whole life and saved your money and put it back for retirement, you want to make sure it's there. And it may not be there. There's no promises. There's no promises in the stock market. There's no promises in retirement world. Anything can happen. And if you want to make sure it's there when you retire and you want to maximize the amount of money that you have by retirement and you want to have a plan in place so you know everything goes smoothly, call David Ernest. Remember, it doesn't cost you anything. Just a little time on the phone with David Ernest. Let them help you come up with a plan, and then you've got peace of mind from here on out, from here out to retirement and beyond that. If you're 55 or older and you got over 50K in your retirement, call them 833-596-7233. That's 833-596-7233 online, retirewithernest.com. All right, let's do it. If you want to get in, 205-545-9950. And as a conservative talk show host, I they get thousands of texts, we get countless phone calls, and we listen. You guys hear it as well. And I would argue that I've got my finger on the pulse of, between that and being able to watch online and see people's opinions, that I've got my finger on the pulse of the thinking of conservatives, at least Republicans and MAGA patriots to an extent. And there are four things in common that I hear from people with all of this. One is Donald Trump's got to bring the cost of goods down and make the U.S. economy boom if he wants to win the midterms, which we can all agree with. Trump, while he's doing a fantastic job, he's got to bring the economy back to the golden age, and I think he will. I think late summer, early fall, that we're going to see stuff like we've never seen before. Hopefully earlier. The cost of everything is high, and it's hurting the middle class. There's no doubt about it. The other thing is that I had been hearing for so long is fire pay and bonding. Everyone wanted this. Donald Trump listened to it, and he did it. Bravo. Good job. The third is start indicting all the dirty Democrats and deep state politicians who stole the 2020 election and committed massive crimes against Donald Trump and the American people. And then the other one, the last one, out of my top four, what I hear from people is they all want to see one thing above all else, and that is indict and arrest Barack Obama. That's what I hear. And we want Obama treated just like Democrats treated Donald Trump. And the J6ers and the pro-life grandmas who prayed outside of abortion clinics. We want to see Obama's D.C. mansion raided by FBI SWAT teams. And I'm with it. I'm with it. We want to see Obama perp walked out of his mansion, just like the Democrats did to MAGA heroes like Roger Stone and Peter Navarro, and that's just to name a couple. And the reason I'm highlighting this in particular today is because I got to thinking about it with this Virginia stuff, which is Obama being behind it. Just like he was behind everything else, a coup in 2016, and all the other problems that we've faced since then. He's been behind all of it. And we want to see Obama's mugshot. We want to see it. It won't be as cool as Donald Trump's mugshot, but I say let's find out. This, for the president, this is how you excite your base and get most of the 77 million who voted for you in 2024 to enthusiastically race to the polls into the midterms. Democrats are not going to vote for Republicans. The wacky leftists out there are not going to change their mind before November. And it's not like we're asking you to frame and indict an innocent man like Democrats did to you, Mr. President. We're not asking to make up charges. We all know Obama is guilty. Guilty as sin. We all know Obama is at the center of everything that has happened. We all know that Obama is guilty of treason and criminal conspiracy. And sadly, 99% of Trump voters believe he's probably going to get away with it. They all believe no one has the balls to indict Obama, even if he's a world-class criminal and traitor. And you know, uh, maybe I'm in that camp sometimes, maybe I'm not. I like to be an optimistic individual, right? But he sold out our country like a modern day Benedict Arnold. Even if all your concentration is on what's going on in Iran right now, who can you trace it back to? Who's the most immediate person you can trace it back to? How does Iran have the missiles and the weapons? They had to buy it with money. And here's the biggest problem. If no one's punished, then nothing's going to change. Democrats will keep rigging and stealing elections and robbing taxpayers blind and trying to arrest PTA moms and pro-life grandmas and persecuting MAGA politicians. They're going to attempt to destroy your lives and after they retake power, as they've already publicly promised to do. Again, good news, Pam Bondi's gone. The even better news is Joe DiGiovanna was just sworn in as Deputy Attorney General to oversee the massive 10-year Democrat criminal conspiracy case in front of a grand jury right now in Florida. Which, by the way, that's a great prosecutor. Joe diGenova is a fantastic prosecutor and a patriot. This guy is a man of honor and a man of courage. He's got the balls the size of Texas, and I believe that's the guy. If we were to pick one individual, Joe diGenova would be the guy to take down somebody like Barack Obama. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm just wishful thinking. But as we talked early in the show about Judge Jeanine Pirro taking the place of Attorney General, there is another option. Because at the end of the day, none of this stops, whether it's stealing elections or arresting political opponents or unconstitutional redistricting, until someone is held accountable. And you know who that someone is. So let's make it happen, baby. Express Oil Change and Tire Engineers. As I told you earlier, I got 2 oil changes yesterday. That means I donated $2 to Children's of Alabama. Get with Express Oil, man. Get that oil change done. As you know, they're doing that for the month of April, and they've already raised a lot of money. So get over there and get it done. Get her done. Make sure that car is in tip-top shape. And all that stuff, man. Location near you, you know it. ExpressOil.com. ExpressOil.com to find your nearest location. And you can hook yourself up. Ken the Lib. Damn, cuz you must be desperate to hold on to your racist MAGA followers. You know they would love to see Obama in handcuffs. You guys are hilarious. Come on, Ken. You got more brain cells than to just call people racist because they don't agree with you. That's kind of weak, is it not? Is it not weak? Anyway, I mean, I can give you example after example if you want as to the crimes that were committed. All the extortion of world leaders and theft by Biden and Hillary was clearly conducted and coordinated with the approval of Obama. Obama led and coordinated the takeover of 17% of the U.S. economy with Obamacare. That's a big Ponzi scheme. Obama destroyed the healthcare system in America. He knew it wouldn't cut prices. He knew it would explode costs. That was the point, to bankrupt the working middle class. Sold out via fraud. Then 2016 came. This is where the real crimes come in. Spying on Trump was clearly ordered, conducted and coordinated by Obama in order to steal the election from Trump and hand it to Hillary Clinton. I mean, you can deny that happened, but it's all there in black and white. That conspiracy makes Watergate look like jaywalking. Once Trump was elected in 2016, Obama led the coup called Russiagate to destroy and remove Trump from office. Also, treason and conspiracy. Then came the 2020 election. Obama led the conspiracy to rig and steal the election to prevent Trump from finishing the job of securing the border, deporting millions of illegal alien criminals. Obama and all his comrades made all that happen under the cover of the COVID pandemic, thereby legalizing mail-in ballots without voter ID, ballot drop boxes, ballot harvesting, all things that are illegal everywhere else in the world. And then there's a much bigger question, which is, did Obama and Democrats coordinate with China and the CCP to bring COVID to America and destroy the economy in Trump's reelection? We just kind of let that go, didn't we? Because once they stole the election for Biden, they then ordered the borders to be wide open like never before in history, to destroy America, change the demographic makeup of the electorate, which is what Democrats call the Great Replacement. The goal was to turn America into a one-party socialist state, which has nothing to do with color or where you're originally from. It's about America and non-American. It's as simple as that. The list goes on and on. I don't have enough time to go through all of that, but, you know, it's stuff we've been talking about for years. It's nothing new. But that's just my advice. Just a little advice from Andrew McLean. If you want to get everybody fired up, that'd be the way to do it. Southern Poverty Law Center. That's another big one. Let me move on to that because I found out a little bit of info that I actually did not know about who was on the board at the Southern Poverty Law Center at one time. You know, the organization that paid hate groups like the KKK to stage protests and rallies and ultimately got people killed. Yeah, that SPLC. I also saw Doug Jones came out and said that indicting the SPLC was a direct threat on our civil rights from the Trump administration. So, is this whose fault is this? Is this the grand jury's fault? Is Doug Jones mad that the KKK is not going to be getting any more money? What's the deal? But what I found out was back in 2017, and I did not know this, but Jocelyn Benson was on the board of directors. Now, who is Jocelyn Benson? She is an individual that is the Attorney General of Michigan that has made a career out of going after and throwing in prison conservatives. That's her thing. And she turned out, she is, first of all, the most crooked. I call her Attorney General. She's the Secretary of State. So she was the one helping steal these elections. The most crooked Secretary of State was an SPLC, let me get it right, SPLC member in 2017. Now, what happened in 2017 while Jocelyn Benson was a member of the board for the Southern Poverty Law Center? Well, it was the Unite the Right rally. That's right. And then in 2018, she was elected as Michigan Secretary of State after losing her first Soros-funded bid in 2014. Curiously enough, prior to the 2018 election, her online profile appeared to be scrubbed, removing any evidence of her ties to the SPLC hate group. I guess she just didn't want to be associated with it. But her track record goes as follows, because in 2020, she oversaw the nation's most mistrusted elections while referring to the nation's most corrupt election as the safest and most secure in history. She repeatedly lied about armed protesters showing up in front of her home after the 2020 election, despite the Detroit police claiming that there was no evidence that any protester was carrying any weapon. She frequently drones on about how the threat of violence in our elections puts democracy in danger, despite never providing a shred of evidence to support those claims, and was caught red-handed lying to the now deceased Frank Beckman during a radio interview about the windows that were covered up to prevent GOP poll challengers from watching the absentee ballots being counted in Detroit the day after the 2020 election. Does everybody remember that? She said, well, they were breaking the windows. We had to put paper up to keep them from breaking the windows. That was pretty absurd. And we've talked a lot about the 2020 election. I mean, and we can continue to talk about it. We will continue to talk about it until there's justice, which goes back to the Obama thing. But the fact that she was on the board of directors for the Southern Poverty Law Center during the Unite the Right rally, which was Charlottesville, I think it's no coincidence. And then she was elevated, if you will, through Soros money or whatever, to Secretary of State of Michigan. The most corrupt Secretary of State in all of the United States. And she's still there today. She'll probably have some prominent role in the next Democrat administration because she's been a fantastic foot soldier for the Democrat Party. Good for her. But maybe there should be some investigations into Jocelyn Benson now that we know what we know. I hope the FBI and the DOJ, with the DOJ in particular, really spread their tentacles out for this one, because there's more than just the current people residing at the Southern Poverty Law Center that are guilty of crimes. I can go ahead and tell you that right now. Whether that's fraud or money laundering or bank fraud, wire fraud, whatever it is, you could probably find yourself a lot of crimes. There are a lot of crimes that reside within the Democrat Party, and they're not that hard to find. You just do a little digging. Just do a little digging and you'll find them. Chuck Davis bringing you this part of the show. ChuckDavisLaw.com. ChuckDavisLaw.com. That's my attorney, as you know. And if you will, give him a call. If you need an attorney, you need representation, Chuck Davis is your guy. He can get you hooked up with whatever problem you got going on, whether that be divorce or custody, as you know, personal injury, where you're owed some money because of somebody else's negligence, slip and fall, car wrecks, wrongful death, you know, the list goes on and on. You also got contracts, probate, wills, real estate, a lot of different things that Chuck can do for you. And if you call him with something that's just too far outside of his expertise, he's got a network of the best attorneys out there that he can send you in the right direction. And he will do that. So you won't walk away empty-handed when you call him. Reach out to him. I've been dealing with Chuck for a while. Consider him a friend, but he's also my attorney. Hit him up. Let him know I sent you. 205-823-9992. That's 205-823-9992. And online, ChuckDavisLaw.com. No representation is made that the legal services provided are superior to the legal services provided by other lawyers. AlabamaMen'sClinic.com. AlabamaMen'sClinic.com. Reach out to my boy Jeremy and the rest of those guys over there, man. They do such a good job. No reason to be embarrassed or ashamed. I always say that because I mean that just kind of comes with the territory. Normally, you think if you got ED or something like that going on, that it's something you got to be embarrassed about, but it just happens, man. It just happens, it's far more common than it used to be. I mean, if you look at the statistics, you know, it's just over time. It's just, I blame, as I've said in the past, I blame just, you know, all the different crap they put in our food, the medications they put us on, and everything else contributes to that stuff, as well as other health related problems. But this is a very fixable problem. It's a situation that can be treated, and I know there's all these different things out there. It's like, oh, you buy this or you buy that, blah 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 blah. Those ain't gonna fix it. That's temporary stuff, you know. That may fix it for the night, but it ain't gonna give you long term solutions. That's where Alabama Men's Clinic comes in. They actually fix the problem with solutions that will stick with you, and that way you don't have to worry about that situation anymore. So whether it's that or you're just feeling sluggish all the time, you can't get it together, or maybe you're crying while you're watching chick movies with your wife or something like that, you might have low T at the end of the day. So get with the program. Call Alabama Men's Clinic and let them know Andrew McLean sent you. 205-598-7000. It's 205-598-7000. Online, AlabamaMen'sClinic.com. Since I'm talking about communist traders like Obama, I want to bring this up, and you'll understand in a moment when I lay this out. But I saw a headline that the Secretary of the Navy, John Fallon is his name, he's been fired by Pete Hegseth. It said, it didn't say he was fired originally. We found that out on the backside, but Sean Parnell put out this post saying Secretary of the Navy John C. Fallon is departing the administration effective immediately. On behalf of the Secretary of War and Deputy Secretary of War, we are grateful to the Secretary, and we are grateful to Secretary Fallon for his service to the Department of and the United States Navy. We wish him well in his future endeavors. Under Secretary Hung Cao will become acting Secretary of the Navy. It later got highlighted in the media that Fallon was indeed fired. For what reason, we don't know. It comes amid the U.S. naval blockade in the Strait of Hormuz, and my first thought is like he was against it. And he was like, "Oh my gosh, the Jews" or something. I don't know. I don't know what he got fired for, but it was something. This is just the latest shakeup in the Pentagon, by the way, which may feel like a bad thing on paper, but it's actually a good thing because you're getting the riffraff out of there. You had earlier this month, Army Chief of Staff General Randy George stepped down last summer. Hegseth fired the general in charge of the agency that released the dubious top secret intelligence assessment about the U.S. strikes on Iranian nuclear sites. Then you had Lieutenant General Jeffrey Cruz being fired as head of the Defense Intelligence Agency. And last year, Hegseth formally terminated the service of every member sitting on the Department of Defense's advisory committees because they weren't playing ball. But I mentioned Hung Cao is the name that's going to be replacing him, at least in the immediate future, Undersecretary Hung Cao. This is a guy, when I saw his name, I was like, that sounds familiar. Where do I know him from? Well, apparently he ran for office. I don't know if he was running for the U.S. House or whatever, but he had put out a political ad kind of talking about his family history. And so I went and looked it up, and I found it. And I was like, oh, yeah, this guy's going to be good. Listen to his political ad from a couple years ago. I like that guy. I like him. I like him. By the way, what powerful words. He said the scariest sound you will hear while living in a communist country is the sound of somebody banging on your door. And that is so true. Trump put out a True Social post saying, I am pleased to announce that Hung Cao will be our next United States Undersecretary of the Navy. Hung is the embodiment of the American dream. As a refugee to our great nation, Hung worked tirelessly to make proud the country that gave his family a home. He went to our amazing United States Naval Academy and later earned his master's degree in physics. Hung served in combat as a special operations officer for 25 years. With Hung's experience both in combat and in the Pentagon, he will get the job done. Congratulations to Hung and his wonderful family. And Hung Cao responded to that with, thank you, Mr. President. It's time to get to work. Good pick right there, man. Replacing the riffraff with people that truly love America. Noto Roofing, N-O-T-O, roofing.com. NotoRoofing.com. My roofing guys, and now your roofing guys. Call them, get that free roof inspection, complimentary roof tune-up, and all the things they'll get you taken care of, man. Best of the best. Can't say enough good things about them, as you know. And get it scheduled, man. It's all you're doing. You're just scheduling that roof inspection. We all need to do it as homeowners. Just get it done. 205-848-2299. That's 205-848-2299. Online, notoroofing.com. I'm out of here. Back tomorrow with a brand new episode. And until then, see ya, cut!